I did not expect the first betrayal to come before the coffin had even left our driveway. The church flowers were still fresh on my lapel. My hand still smelled of my husband's cologne from when I held him one last time. I had not even washed my face since the funeral. My head was pounding from hours of forced smiling, handshakes, and people telling me, "Be strong, Samantha." As if strength was not the only thing keeping me from collapsing onto that casket. I thought we were sitting down for a quiet family dinner, a moment of silence, a moment to breathe. Instead, my son Gerald placed his fork down, leaned back in his chair, and said in the calmest voice I had ever heard from him, "Now that Dad is gone, it is time we settle the house situation." Before I could respond, Julia, my daughter-in-law, crossed her arms and added with a smirk, "You have had a good run here, Samantha, but this place was always meant to be ours, so please, grieve, pack your bags, and never come back." The room went silent. Even the ceiling fans seemed to stop spinning. Gerald did not look like my son anymore. His face was cold, brittle, almost rehearsed. My own flesh and blood sat across from me, waiting for me to accept exile like a quiet little widow. I opened my mouth to speak, but only air came out. They thought I was too broken to fight back. They had no idea what my husband had left behind. Before I continue, I want to thank every single one of you who has stayed with me through all my stories. Your support means more to me than you can ever imagine. To those who are new, welcome. I truly hope you choose to stay. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button because I cannot wait to share more of my journey with you. And please leave a like and a comment below. Tell me, what would you have done if your own child spoke to you that way? I want to know your honest thoughts. Now, let me take you back to that table. Gerald cleared his throat. He spoke slowly, as if explaining something to a stubborn child. Now that Dad is gone, it is time we settled the house situation. Julia leaned forward, tapping her blood-red nails on the table. You have had a good run here, Samantha, but this place was always meant to be ours. So please, grieve, pack your bags, and never come back. Their eyes were cold. Their decision had already been made. I walked to my room on trembling legs. I did not cry, not yet. I simply sat on the bed and stared at the photographs on the wall. Our wedding day, Christmas mornings, grandchildren laughing in the backyard. 40 years, gone with a sentence. I pulled my husband's old denim jacket from the closet, the one he wore every morning to fetch the newspaper. It still smelled of fresh grass and aftershave. I hugged it tight, and that was when I felt it. Something stiff, hidden in the inner lining. I reached into the tear in the fabric, and my fingers touched a small, cold, metallic object. A key. Not to the house. Not to a drawer. Something else. Something he had hidden. In that silent moment, his voice echoed in my mind. Something he had once whispered in the dark when he thought I was asleep. If anything ever happens to me, look for what I left behind. What door was my husband asking me to open? I sat on the edge of my bed for what felt like an hour, turning that mysterious key over in my hand like it was a burning coal. It was small, old, brass, slightly worn at the edges. Not the kind used for any door inside the house. Not from any cabinet or drawer I recognized either. It had weight, not just in metal, but in meaning. My husband, God rest his soul, was not a man of riddles. If he hid something, it was because he wanted me to find it only when I truly needed it. And tonight, I needed more than comfort. I needed answers. I waited until the house was silent. I heard Gerald and Julia's laughter faintly through the walls, mocking laughter muffled by whine. They were probably celebrating their victory already. I did not cry. I did not tremble. For the first time in weeks, I felt awake. I started in my husband's study, the one room Gerald never bothered to enter because there were too many old books. The sense of oak polish and tobacco still lingered in the air. His chair was pushed in, his reading glasses still resting on the leather-bound dictionary he always pretended to read, but secretly used as a nap pillow. I tried the key on the desk drawers. Nothing. On the glass cabinet, no click. Then I noticed something odd. At the back of the bookshelf, behind the encyclopedias, was a wooden panel that did not quite match the others, slightly darker, slightly newer, as if replaced. My hands shook for the first time. I pressed on it. Click. The panel loosened, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside was a small metal box the exact size the key would fit in. I swallowed hard, my throat dry as dust. The key slid in perfectly. Turn, click. The lid opened, and my life changed with it. Inside that old box was a stack of envelopes tied together with twine, each one sealed in my husband's handwriting. The top one read, "To my beloved Samantha, if you are reading this, they have turned against you." I sat down slowly. My heartbeat echoed in my ears. I opened the first envelope with trembling fingers. His words spilled out like a voice from beyond the grave. "Forgive me for keeping secrets. I always knew Gerald loved me, but I also knew he did not respect you the way a son should. So I made preparations." My eyes blurred with tears, but I kept reading. "This house is not Gerald's. I transferred full ownership to your name 10 years ago. The documents are in the bottom of this box. Do not be afraid to use them. You earned every brick of this home." I gasped. My hands flew to my mouth. All their words from earlier echoed through my head. The house was always meant to be ours. It was never really yours anyway. Liars! Cold, rehearsed liars. But the letter was not done. There are other properties, the lake house, the 12 acres of land near Baton Rouge, all in your name. Gerald knows nothing of them. I hid these things, not because I did not trust him, but because I trusted his greed more than mine ever was. I felt my grief transform into something sharp. No longer sorrow, power. Then I heard voices outside the door. Gerald and Julia, talking softly. I leaned closer. "We need to get the paperwork done fast before she figures anything out," Gerald whispered. "Don't worry," Julia replied confidently. "Tomorrow morning I will help her pack. She will be gone before lunch." They laughed, like hyenas waiting for a carcass. My tears dried. My spine straightened. I gently closed the metal box and tucked it safely beneath my robe. Let them sleep peacefully tonight, for tomorrow I would be the storm they never saw coming. I woke up before the sun, but not as a broken widow. I rose as a woman with proof, with purpose, and with a plan. I made breakfast like nothing had happened. Scrambled eggs, bacon, toast, coffee, just as I had done for 40 years. My hands moved calmly, steadily, even though every breath inside me burned like fire. When Gerald entered the kitchen, he looked surprised. Maybe he expected me to be packing my bags in tears. Instead, I greeted him with calmness that unnerved him. "Good morning," I said softly. "I have been thinking about what you said. Perhaps you are right. Maybe it is time for me to move on." His shoulders loosened. Relief washed over his face. He thought he had won. Julia walked in moments later, smirking like a cat ready to lick spilled cream. "I am glad you understand," she said sweetly, reaching for her coffee. I smiled back. "Of course, I will start sorting my belongings today. But first, I believe you both have somewhere to be," the lawyer called. Their smiles vanished. Gerald narrowed his eyes. "What lawyer?" I feigned innocence. "Your father's lawyer, the firm he used for all his estate matters. You received a voicemail yesterday. Something about the reading of his will." Gerald stiffened. He had not told me about that call. He was planning to attend it alone. They exchanged a tense glance, but tried to recover their composure. "Yes, we were going to tell you about that," Julia lied. "Obviously, we will handle the legal things for you." "Oh, do not trouble yourselves," I replied sweetly. "I already called back. They invited all of us. The appointment is tomorrow morning at 10. Julia clenched her jaw. Gerald was silent. They were losing control, and they felt it. The rest of the day, I played my role. I packed a few boxes, just enough for them to believe I was surrendering. Meanwhile, in the privacy of my room, I moved the metal box and all legal documents into a secure bag. By afternoon, I met with my husband's lawyer, Mr. Adkins, an older gentleman who had known us for decades. When I placed the documents from the hidden box in front of him, his eyes widened with a mix of shock and admiration. "He really did think of everything," he whispered. "Yes," I replied quietly, "but I need one last thing from you." He nodded without question. Together, we prepared a legal response, certified, irrefutable, ready to strike when needed. When I returned home that evening, I heard them talking in the living room. They were arguing. "What if she starts asking questions?" she hissed. "She will not," he shot back. "She is old. She has no money to fight us. She just wants peace." I smiled in the hallway. Let them underestimate me one last time. I entered the room with a soft cough. They both jolted upright, pretending they had been discussing something innocent. "I am going to rest early," I said politely. "Big day tomorrow." They forced fake smiles. "Yes," Julia replied through her teeth. "Big day!" That night, as I lay in bed, I stared at the ceiling with steady eyes. Tomorrow would be the day they learned who this house truly belonged to. Tomorrow would be the day my husband spoke from beyond the grave. Tomorrow would not be my eviction. It would be their reckoning. But little did I know, there was one more secret in that will that even I was not prepared for. The next morning, we walked into the law firm as 3 people, but only one of us would walk out with the future. Gerald strutted in with his shoulders high, pretending to be composed. Julia held her purse like a trophy, already picturing herself redecorating my living room. I walked behind them, calm and silent, like a woman heading to prayer, not war. We were escorted into a polished conference room where Mr. Adkins, my husband's lawyer, sat across from us. He gave me a polite nod before addressing the table formally. "Thank you all for coming. As you know, we are here for the reading of Mr. Robert Hill's final will." Julia leaned back smugly. Gerald crossed his arms. I folded my hands and waited. Mr. Adkins opened a sealed envelope and began to read. To my beloved wife, Samantha. If this letter is being read, it means God has called me home. First and foremost, thank you for loving me even when I did not deserve it. Every brick of that house stands because of your hands. Julia's smirk twitched. Regarding our assets, the primary residence, the lake property, and all financial accounts are legally and solely in Samantha's name. This arrangement was made over a decade ago. Gerald's jaw dropped. To my son, Gerald. A pause. Gerald sat up straighter, expecting blessing. I love you, but I refuse to reward disrespect. If you wish to inherit anything, you must publicly apologize to your mother, restore her honor, and vow never to remove her from her home. If you cannot do so truthfully, you will receive nothing. Julia's face turned red. She shot up from her seat. This is a manipulation. He did not mean that. Mr. Adkins did not flinch. There is more. He pulled out a USB drive and placed it into a small speaker device on the desk. Static crackled. Then his voice, my husband's voice, gravelly, calm, recorded with intention. Hello, Samantha. Hello, son. If you are hearing this, I am gone. Gerald, look at your mother. Is that how you treat the woman who carried you? If you feel shame right now, good. It means there is hope for you. Gerald stared at the table. His eyes were wet, but pride kept his mouth shut. As for you, Julia, I may be gone, but I still know a vulture when I see one. I trusted you with my son, but you poisoned him. For that, you inherit nothing from me. Not a dollar, not a spoon. Julia slammed her fist on the table. He cannot talk about me like that. He is dead. I turned slowly toward her. Yes, I said quietly, but he is still right. She glared at me with hatred so sharp it could cut glass. But hatred has no power against proof. When the recording ended, silence filled the room. Gerald looked at me. For the first time in years, I saw my son, not the man she had sculpted him into. His lips trembled. Mom. I lifted my hand gently. Do not apologize because the will demands it. Apologize because you mean it. He swallowed hard. His pride and his guilt battled in his eyes. He lowered his head. I am sorry, Mom. Was it perfect? No. But was it real? Yes. Julia stood there, frozen, her empire of control crumbling beneath her heels. We walked out of that law firm together, but not as equals. I walked as the legal owner. He walked as the son who almost lost everything. She walked as the outsider she had always been. I did not win because of money. I won because I had a husband who loved me enough to protect me, even from the grave. If you are watching this right now, listen to me. God sees every injustice. He hears every silent cry. And sometimes he delivers justice in ways no human court ever could. What would you have done if your own child tried to throw you out of your own home? Would you forgive? Would you fight? Would you walk away? Tell me in the comments. And if this story moved you, like, subscribe, and share so more people hear it. Because this world may be full of betrayal, but it is also full of unexpected miracles.